Welcome to the April 11th Eclipse OpenJ9 community call. As always, if you can add your name and affiliation so we have some idea of who's regularly attending these calls, that would help. And then we'll jump into our agenda. So we've got the usual agenda in front of us. If you've got something that you'd like to add, feel free to chime in. There's no lightning talk scheduled this week. If you want to schedule one, let me know and we'll get that set up. So let's take a look at the recent end user issues. Looks like we've had a couple come in since the last call. It's an issue here around ePoll. New to me, so I don't know if anybody can take a look at that.
Yeah, basically I have no idea. They're saying that OpenJDK is fine and OpenJ9 spends a lot of time polling. So I'm just assuming maybe something missing in the VM, so I set it there for now.
Okay. Issue with the negative array size exception not thrown. That actually looked like it had some fast turnaround on that.
Yeah, there's some investigation, but no fix yet. I think these things will be fixed. There's a couple of these that came in the last few weeks, targeted for 040.
Yeah, I just think it was going to say it's a very fast turnaround on this. So nice find there. This reporting of vulnerability, have we actually seen that come in through the proper channels now?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No response since I commented on it.
Okay. Another JIT issue, and then the rest of these are older. Is there anything in this list that needs some discussion? All right, then we'll close this and jump back to the agenda. It brings us to the roadmap section where we're looking at the 038 release. 7 items here. Looks like the go ahead.
Quick summary is that there's some CRIU things that are going in, and that support for handle SIG user 2 is going in, but we should be ready next week.
Well, that's good to hear. All right, then that brings us to Java 19. So if we look at the state that we're in there, we're down to 3 open items here. Do we have an update on where these are at?
I guess I could start. So the Skynet Java, we had some redesign work going in that was supposed to speed up performance. That did go in. After that, we saw some out-of-memory errors running Skynet test. We also unexcluded the Skynet test, which was excluded before. So we started seeing out-of-memory errors running Skynet in non-compressed refs mode, which were unexpected. The current workaround for that is just to increase the default XMX. So I think the tests normally run with a XMX of 512, and we've set that to 768 meg instead. And we've only had 1 nightly run, but we didn't see the out of memory in last night.
How did we come up with that number?
Well, it's bigger than 512. In Java 20, OpenJDK actually increased the XMX to 1 gig because they're having problems running the test on XMAC, I think it was. But rather than jumping all the way up to 1 gig if we didn't need to, I thought we should try 768 and just see how that went. Now, the OpenJ9 memory usage does seem to be different from OpenJDK. OpenJDK seems to be able to run fine in 512 or even smaller. And OpenJ9, sometimes runs fine in 512s, but sometimes not. So I think there's more investigation to go on there, but I'm not sure at this point that we should be holding up a release for it. I mean, this is a preview feature, and if setting a higher XMX means you can run, then it seems a valid workaround.
Yep.
Plus the default outside of the test harness is not 512. So usually people would have higher XMX by default.
Okay. And the breakpoint and yield test.
That one haven't been getting a lot of attention due to the lower rate of reproduction, so there's no update on that one.
Okay, so this is still segfaulting though.
Yeah.
I was hoping we could consider that a non. It's intermittent. Maybe we could put it aside and do a release with this known problem.
What's the rate here?
About 10% or less.
So 1 in 10 runs is gonna crash with this. And
Well,
this is only in debug mode.
Well, the test forces a breakpoint, so it have to be in the JVM-TI mode.
So my question is, we're not seeing similar crashes in other modes.
Can you specify what the mode you meant?
Well, I'm assuming we're in some kind of debug mode if we're using breakpoints in TI.
crash is only seen in this test. We haven't seen crashes in any of the other testing.
I think the answer is yes to Dan's question. You need to be in JVM-TI mode to see this crash.
Yeah, that certainly makes it easier to roll it forward. Okay. And then the DDR vthreads command.
So that's in progress, but I'm again thinking we don't need to hold up a release for it. It's DDR serviceability, and DDR can be updated at any time to look at older cores. So, we could put that into the headstream and use a headstream build to look at a core file.
All right, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're arguing none of these three should block us at this point, and that we should proceed with a release.
That's what I'm saying.
And have we done an M2 test run through to see, or a full run through of testing to make sure that there's nothing else that's showing up?
No, not yet. We're still working on that out of memory issue last week, trying to figure out what was going on. So I'm going to propose that we do a build and call it RC1 rather than M2. And if everything looks good, then we proceed with releasing. Now, I don't expect to publish the RC1 build because right now they're not being signed. There's a problem getting the signing working. So we'd have to get the signing working before any builds can be published. We wouldn't declare the RC1 GA. We would do another set of builds tag GA, but RC1 would be the testing. And then if we did another set of builds, it wouldn't really run any testing. Be exactly the same as the RC1, except for a GA tag.
And do you think we would be able to have this done before the release of Java 20.1 becomes widely available?
I expect we could get through RC1 and tag a GA. I don't know if we can get GA builds out because of the signing problem.
From an OpenJ9 perspective, given that we don't release builds,
Yep.
I think getting the GA tagged before that, it's kind of a semantics issue, but tagging a GA before it becomes insecure, I'm okay with. Once we cross that magic date, then I'm much less okay with that approach.
Yeah, so we'll try to get that done this week.
All right. Sounds like we're in slightly better shape there. I'm assuming, given that the focus we've had, that nobody has taken much of a look at Java 20 yet then?
Not a whole lot, I don't think. I moved a few things out, but the list is still fairly large in the 40s. I think there's still some things that could be moved out.
All right, well, why don't we pull the plan up and take a very quick look at it?
You know, and we are working on some things, like we're working on FFI.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of Loom changes, both design work and bugs to work through.
Yeah, so I'm not sure all the Loom stuff needs to stay in this plan. I think some of it was moved forward from 19 and could probably move into a 1902, the 1902 milestone. We should whittle this down and concentrate on what we need for a GA.
Yeah, with the challenge that we're trying to get back on schedule for a 21.
Yeah.
Which things, most of these will need to be fixed for a 21 because Loom will be on preview at that point.
Actually, looks like some things were moved out in the last hour or so. I think it was up at about 46. So maybe somebody is taking a look.
Okay. It's good to hear. Probably not much more to discuss there, unless somebody has something they want to call out specifically. All right, then do we have an update from the Adopt group? Okay. Adam, do we have an update on the infrastructure?
Adam's not here today.
I don't see Adam. Okay. Don't see Marius either, so probably no update on JIT server or microJIT. Toby, is there an update on CRIU?
So just that we've got a couple of changes that we want to get in just to fix some issues we're seeing. We believe we can get everything wrapped up before the end of this week. And then beyond that, it's just working on some documentation changes.
Okay. Good to hear. Daryl, any update on the Apple Silicon work?
No updates this week.
All right. Any other business that we want to touch on? Actually, there is one thing that I should mention. I've seen some discussion in the OpenJDK community around disabling late attach by default. There should be a JEP related to that that'll be coming out at some point in the future. But in particular, there's an XX option that was introduced in JDK 9, I believe, that allows you to disable this feature already. And I suspect that that's an option that slipped off our radar, and it may be one that we need to implement as well. So we should be aware of that option as people do adapt eventually to this change. We want to make sure we pre-shipped that XX option so that they're ready, even if they make those changes in older releases to enable it. So
I made an issue for this. I just put it in the chat. So I believe Devin Nakamura is currently looking at that.
Thanks, Toby.
I agree we should implement the option, but note there is an OpenJ9 option that allows you to disable attach API.
This is not disabling attach API in and of itself. It's disabling the loading of dynamic agents through attach API.
Oh, I see. So you can still use attach, just not do certain things.
Yes. All right. Anything else that we should touch on? All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll call
you.
this here.